Our second inductee tonight, Dave Clark. And to make the introduction, Texas Track and Field Coaches Association Hall of Famer, class of 2013, Mr. John Pritchett.
You know, in the discipline of track and field, pole vaulters have always been considered to be, shall we say, unique. And that's certainly true of our inductee tonight. Dave Clark began his vaulting experience in the 7th grade at middle school in Grand Prairie with an aluminum pole and a sand landing pit. He went on to Grand Prairie High School, where as a gopher, he was 3-time regional champion and state qualifier. That was good enough for legendary coach Pop Noah at North Texas State University. There used to be a school with that name, where he was 3 times Missouri Valley champion and was the first Texan and only 8th person in the world to clear 15 feet with an aluminum pole and a sand landing pit. He went on to a 2nd place finish in the NCAA championships. That earned him a spot in the Olympic trials, and he finished 3rd and qualified as a member of the American team for the 1960 Olympiad in Rome, Italy. He represented his country in many international meets, where he not only competed, but he was well known for assisting aspiring vaulters all over the world in their endeavor. I have to say that Dave had a rather unique family, too. I was at his house one day. We were working on a track meet or something. I kept hearing this noise behind me. And I finally looked around. There's a rather long hall down there. And in one end of the hall was a bunch of pillows and cushions. And in the hall were 3 young kids, elementary, preschool age, with a broomstick running down the hall and vaulting into those pillows. Now, these 3 boys, these unique boys, went on to pole vault for Duncanville High School and all earned college scholarships. Greg and Kyle went to North Texas, and Brian went to UT Arlington. He also had 2 granddaughters, Kelsey at Keller Highfield and Casey at Mansfield, that were pole vaulters, but they wised up, went on to something better before they went to college. Now, his wife, Sylvia, is also pretty unique. His high school sweetheart. They've been married for 56 years, and all during that time, she has endured all of this activity. And so they are, I would say, a very unique family. Specifically, David developed a pole vaulting school for local, state, and national athletes. He wrote a book on vaulting, produced the pole vaulting video, invented vaulting techniques, worked with manufacturers of fiberglass poles to perfect the construction and design. He served on the National Advisory Board that established safety standards for vaulting and designed and marketed a special pole vaulting shoe. These vaulting activities continued Dave's keen interest in vaulting and kept him quite active in the track and field industry for more than 50 years. Now, I have to also mention, Dave's always lived in a home with a pole vault pit in the backyard and a swimming pool. And he has coached and helped many pole vaulters over the years. He also taught swimming. He and I were trying to calculate the other day, in the 48 years he has taught swimming, he's probably taught as many as 10,000 swimmers. He taught my son and daughter. It was kind of interesting because when I first took him over there, Dave and I were good friends. He turned me around and sent me home. Couldn't go watch. I picked up my shell-shocked kids at the end of the swimming and took them home. But in spite of all that, they learned to swim real well. Now, swimming is still going on in his backyard, but it's my understanding that Dave sits under the tree in the shade with his iced tea and counting the money, and his granddaughters do all the work. And he tells me that if I thought he was tough on the kids, I ought to see his granddaughters, the way they treat them. At any rate, Dave Clark is a very unique addition to our track and field Hall of Fame. Please welcome David Clark.
That's right. I thank God for all his blessings, because it's from him that I got my strength. I saw Amy jump up here and I was going to outdo her, but then I changed my mind and took the easy way out. Last year we ran over 2 hours. A very high official told me, Dave, don't be here all night long. He said, just get your plaque, say thank you, and get off the stage. And I told him I would try real hard. I've got 2 speeches, one's short, one's long. The short one is thank you, and the long one is thank you very much. They warned me about too long, so I don't know what to leave out, but there's some things I really want to get in. It's true, I got my first introduction to the pole vault in the 7th grade. They ran us out on the blacktop, and there was a pit 6 feet with about 6 inches of sand, makeshift standards, and a pole with a hole dug in the ground for the box. So I didn't know what the pole vault was, but I knew that was fun. So I started out, and the classmates gathered around me, and they clapped and everything. And I said, man, I like this, so I want to keep it up. And I went back to class, and the coach heard about it, and he sent one of the 8th graders and said, the coach will see you. And I said, I don't want to go see that coach because he thinks I probably tore his standards up and everything. And so I didn't go. And the next day he sent his 9th grader. And I said, man, he's really caught on to me. And I didn't do it. So the coach came the next day, and he said, look, I want you out for track and the pole vault because I think you'll really like it, which I did. I went out, introduced myself to coaches, and it seems like I've known coaches all my life. And I guarantee you, I help officiate. I think you coaches are the greatest people in the world. And it's really good to be around you. Now, there's some things I really want to include. One of them is the Olympics. In 1960, the temperature in Rome was 112 degrees. They put us in a dorm, and it was the Cold War, and the Russians were on one end, and the Americans on the other end, and we were right in the middle of the Swiss, or the Swiss was in the middle, and everything. And you look down there, and the Russians were, looked so mystique, and they didn't josh around like the American athletes who were jumping out the second floor windows, and dancing and everything. But I knew I wanted to meet them. So we would have to walk to the practice field, and I got to meet one. Pritchett was his name, and we talked a lot. And I told him that Americans in Los Angeles has 800 churches. And he said, well, we have all the rockets, satellites. He said, I think we should have more churches, And I thought, that was really great, And so we went on the next day. They had his agents all around, plainclothesmen and everything. And he said, Dave, we should talk politics, And I said, okay. And he said, because his friend over there is a communist, and we don't want to talk around him. I said, okay. Well, I didn't see him anymore until the games. And the games were any fiberglass poles and everything. And there's one good story, and Earl Young, do you still have that flag, that Olympic flag that you stole, you borrowed? For 55 years, I've heard you talk, and I'm your roommate, so I want to tell it like it is. Well, Earl, being a Church of Christ and Abilene Christian, went out with his friends that night, and stayed out late. And he came back, and they got that flag, and the security guards were chasing him, the fat ones, and they were catching up with him. And he had a good reason, because he had that gold medal around his neck, and it was flopping all around. That slowed him down. But he was tired because he ran a 45.4 that week, and he was tired. So anyway, he lost them in the dark, and he came back in our room, and he came in there and put that flag under my bed. And then he climbed under his bed. He said, I'll tell you about it in the morning, And And that was it for the night. Now, Earl, if that's not true, then you can get up here and use your own time and tell the truth, you know. But I had the experience of being vaulting in a wonderful era. It was when the steel pole went out and the fiberglass came in, and there was a lot of talk about doing away with the fiberglass pole. And so I didn't try it right away, but I wished I had. Now, there's some people that I really want to get through this. First of all, my wife, who took care of me in college, she was 72, joined a studio, started lifting weights at 112 pounds, and she went to Helsinki and won the world title and a record holder, you know. And she did that 2 years in a row in Miami and everything. And so I'm proud of her. I've got 3 boys, and it does me a great honor to know that they all pole vaulted, and they did well. Gray's got Kelsey there, a record holder, and that brute next to her is Luke, and they're going to be married this summer. The only thing is she graduated from OU, and she's up North Texas working on her master's. And Kyle was a high school champion, and he's got 3 boys, and one of them was on the varsity football in North Richland, and he's going to be good. And Brian Clark had 2 daughters, and Casey lettered in the 9th grade at Mansfield, and she's down at Sam Houston. And his sister, Abby, she took the easy way out, and she's just a straight A student. I want to say how much I loved my mother and daddy. They were one of the reasons why I'm here. My dad was a disciplinarian. He taught me to respect the police and everything. He said, if you ever get in trouble, you're going to rot there. And I kind of took him at his word. I kind of knew he meant his word, you know. And my mother loved track and field. She came to all of our meets. And when I didn't get a write-up in a paper in football, she said, I'm going to go up to that football coach and tell him, you know, to give you some recognition, you know. Well, she went down to Texas Relays, and it lasted 4 hours. And they came and told me that whoever wins this was going to be voted outstanding athlete. Well, a few minutes I went out, and I went up in the stands and sat with her. And my competitor was getting ready to take his final vault. The stadium was quiet. He took 1 step forward, and she said, miss it, miss it, miss it. And there I was right next to her. And I couldn't do anything about that. You know. I would like to recognize my brother, Robert Clark. He dropped out and joined the Marines, went to Korea. He was my hero and taught me a lot, and he came to all the meets. He probably had the only 8mm camera around, took all types of pictures, and you can imagine how that would help you in training and everything. Well, they sent me that certificate. I gave it to him, and he was so proud of that, and he showed it to everybody. You go to church, show everybody and everything. And I said, now we're going to have this induction here in the 9th. He said, I want to be there and everything, and he kept talking about that. Now, he's not able to be here because he died 2 months ago. But I think he's here in spirit. So in ending, I'm going to dedicate this plaque to his wife, Billy, and I know he will say, job well done. Thank you.
Olympian Dave Clark, ladies and gentlemen, a new inductee into our Hall of Fame. Congratulations.